Let's get going. Ah, excuse me.
What do you need?
Can I help you? What? We've stopped. What is it?
Help Irileth kill this dragon before it can attack Whiterun. There's no time to lose.
Can I help? You?
Yeah?
I'm still here.
You see those warriors from Hammerfell? They've got curved swords. Curved swords. Rorikstead's a nice enough little hamlet, but a boring posting for a guard. If a dragon attacks, well, then it'll be a different story.
Trouble? They say the college has been snooping around Sarthal. Mages in a burial crypt. No good can come of that.
Another wanderer, here to lick my father's boots. Good job.
Everything's in order.
What can I do for you, friend? I'm still here. What the?
Absurd that you can't cook good sweet rolls in the skeever hole of a city.
What can I do for you?
Blasted war. I was due a new dress for solitude, but it was never.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Greetings, fair lass. It's not often such beauty is allowed to blossom in such a cold and dreary place. They call me Larkspur. That name should tell you anything you need to know, and everything you want to believe. And I consider it bad form to leave a comely lass wanting. Perhaps you may have heard rumors regarding my vicious appetite for women, and I assure you, I'm never vicious. You may have heard I'm a nefarious rogue who robs from the wealthy and gives to the poor, but there is nothing nefarious about justice. You may have heard I'm as tall as a giant and have claws like a werewolf. And so, I submit to you my hands as evidence, and you'll find that they're strong, but their touch is gentle. Then consider yourself blessed. You can hear the story of Larkspur from the one who lived it. You'll find, my lady, that my confidence isn't without reason. And yet, while it's true that I'm an experienced lover, I'm not experienced in love. Perhaps you will be the one to win a lavender flower from me. Oh yes, to me, the lavender is the perfect embodiment of a woman, and I only give it to those who define that ideal. Which is what I'd say to a serving girl, but you aren't that, are you? No, I suspect you like a more forceful approach. I wonder if it's not the dashing prince of the poor, but the daring bandit you desire. While I enjoy both roles, I really prefer the latter, as it's much more honest. I'm not sure I entirely agree with that. It's not the bad qualities that attract. I know there's a perception among nice men that some lasses are completely mad, driven like a moth to a flame by men who treat them poorly. Their assumption is wrong, but the metaphor is apt. It's not the fire that attracts the moth, but the light. And it isn't the bandit in me that women adore. The truth is, men like me can afford to be bad. We can afford to burn because our light shines so brightly. A nice man's light is so dim it attracts nothing, so he thinks it's better to extinguish his fire. To compete for the heart of the moth, he sells himself as a candle that doesn't burn. Yet, the part that burns, decadence, lust, and avarice, is the same force that drives passion. And women want, no, need passion. This is how a man becomes a candle with neither light nor flame, and makes a cuckold of himself. You make it sound like life is something complex. Life's about one thing, and one thing only. Boredom, or rather, escaping it. Everything we do is an attempt to fill that time. I choose to bed a lass, another may choose to marry one. The difference between that man and me is the level of commitment. Not to the lass, mind you, but to time. To stay interested, that man fills his life with wives and children. I'm gambling that even now, I can find something else to fill those empty days. Which is where your need of a companion and my needs collide. I'm willing to adventure with you if you'll have me. The alternative is quite scary. Would you believe me if I said to meet fair lasses such as yourself? I won't insult your intelligence with such a rehearsed approach. Yet it's not all lies. The lass is most fair. And I detest false humility, but in your case I'll also make an exception. I confess, I didn't come to this dark and bleak dungeon to find such radiance. Yet it pleases me all the same. I come here every day to remind myself that I'm a free man, and to appreciate all the beautiful gifts life has to offer. I'm a bandit, a thief, which might strike you as odd considering this dashing head of mine is still attached to its body. After all, in this land only the rich get a trial, whether your capital is coin or politics. My pursuers couldn't execute me because I turned myself in. I turned myself in because the Jarl can't risk an execution. With the civil war going on, there's too much turmoil, and the Jarl knows his chair isn't exclusive to his bottom. To execute a bandit who sacks finely clothed men and spreads the coin among the people, well, that won't make that chair any more comfortable. My mother. Truth is, I was a bandit before I was anything else. The bandit business was the family business, and I've been a no-good bandit since birth. My parents made it seem so romantic when I was a child. They would return and tell me tales of great beasts and come back with the skins as proof. Most of the time they brought back books they stole from caravans. They wanted a different life for me, but they weren't naive. They also taught me the trade, how to knock an arrow, shoot a troll between the eyes, and harvest its fat. As you might expect, I was a natural. They taught me how to kill a man, too, where the weak points were in his body and mind, how a simple illusion spell can pierce harder than any blade. When I went out on my own, however, I soon learned that the life of a bandit was far from romantic. There was no sense to the carnage. It didn't matter if you were rich or poor, armed or defenseless. If you walked the road, you paid the toll. I agree, but you'll have a hard time convincing a bandit of his moral obligation. Gold is far more persuasive. It all changed when I read a book called The Beggar Prince, and I realized the beggars with eyes and ears on the streets were the key. I took what money I had and befriended them. I learned of the comings and goings of the city's wealthiest merchants and the mercs they hired. Soon, my whisperers included the townsfolk in the market district and the farmers who worked outside the castle walls. I knew what shipment was going out and when. I knew the men tasked to guard it, what time they woke up, their favorite drink, if they pissed in the river or liked to use a latrine. Gathering the muscle for the job was easy. Most bandits are too stupid to organize a guild, but they know the shiny things are worth a lot of coin. The whole thing made for good business, and after every successful raid, I made sure to fill the coffers of the lower district. That's how I became poverty's prince. I merely invested in the very beggars and workers that the wealthy try so hard to ignore. When the merchants found it too difficult to stop our raids, Alfred Battleborn used his considerable resources to threaten the people. He put the fear of the Daedra in the townsfolk, and the cost of information went up. Plus, the information we did get was unreliable. Alfred paid the beggars to misdirect us, or send us straight into ambushes. Say what you want about the Battleborns, but they're a clever group. Now that's a time I don't mind revisiting. They called me Poverty's Prince, which, like the king in rags, is both the title of disrespect and honor. Whether a person thought it one or the other could tell you all you needed to know about their station. I myself accepted it with great pride. What you say is true, and why I'm no true hero. I only wish I could have given more to the ones who needed it most. Surely the last doesn't wish to discuss such a dour subject. It doesn't become one so illuminating. But if that's my lady's request, then I'm but her humble servant. As I said before, I came willingly, but I wasn't prepared for what came next. I made the mistake of thinking the guards were men of the people. I thought I'd live as the Jarl of the dungeon with all the food I could eat and all the ale I could drink. And when the feast was over, I'd drink in the sight of maidens like yourself who would come to boost my spirits. It wasn't so. The guards aren't beholden to some idealistic sense of honor. They just want to fatten their coin purse. That's putting it a bit mildly. They beat me, starved me, and they gave me a health potion so they could beat me some more. When I refused to drink, they brought in a healer to restore me so that I'd survive another round of torture. It was a foul trick. The burns, the scars, none of it remained to show the horror of what I endured. I'm afraid I would have lost my sanity completely if not for the kind words of the man in the cell next door. If it's a tale of danger and intrigue you wish to hear, then I've got a few. Now, there are many perils I encountered on the road as a bandit, but the most terrifying by far I met in the Drunken Huntsman. She was a raven-haired lass, Dunmer, with streaks of gold framing eyes like midnight. She called herself an artist. I asked if she could paint my friend's picture. She said her price was 500 gold. 500 for a bloody picture, I thought, but I was drunk, so I paid. Bloody was right, and it was my friend that night who paid. Then, perhaps it's time we dispense with the words and retreat to somewhere more private. You've got someone with you already. I prefer to work in pairs. He'd wait until the guards have left, until the night grew still, and as I drifted toward the brink of madness, he'd slowly start to speak. He never addressed me directly. He'd simply tell stories and laugh heartily at his own jokes. They were such awful jokes. But his voice was filled with so much life, almost as if his heart was so full of joy, he couldn't help but give some of it to me. I wish I had. When my sentence was over, I was ushered quickly to the Bannered Mare, where friends and companions came to celebrate my release. We drank and feasted all night and passed along old stories like bottles of vintage wine. By the time I returned to this dungeon a week later, I found his cell empty. Goodbye.
I guess maybe all of them. But someday, mine will be the only one worth flying. Yes?